Hi, good afternoon. It's Chris Whelan here from the Wellington Centre of Business Excellence, building better businesses. You can see it's Wellington weekend. I'm a little bit relaxed. I've got a t-shirt on rather than a formal shirt. None of that changes anything in terms of what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about why who you are is more important almost than what you do in terms of building your long-term success. I talk about it in terms of the be, do, have formula. Right? So the be, because we're human beings at the end of the day, what we do, taking those two together determines ultimately what we have. What is the challenge that we're talking about, though? Far too many people are very, very focused on how hard can I work? How much more can I squeeze into the day? And that's not a bad thing necessarily, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's bad. However, people are believing that the harder they work, the more they're going to achieve. And that is fundamentally not true. And I'll tell you why that's not true. There's a few things that's come to mind. And the first one is that really who we are actually precedes what we do. What we do comes out of who we are. So that's the first point. But there's a few things that people can't achieve by just working harder and harder and harder. Firstly, they can't actually achieve long-term success. They can't achieve real scale in their business because there's only 168 hours in the week, right? 24 in a day, and you can figure out how many in a month. So by working all of those hours, you can't really scale forever and ever and ever. Unfortunately, there is a corollary that comes with that, and that is that you're likely to end up exhausted because you're working harder and harder and harder and harder. Now, hard work is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that it's bad. But what I'm saying is there's only limits to it, and it's exhausting. And the second thing is you end up chasing your tail, right? Because you work harder and harder and harder, and next thing happens, you must do it again. Take that around, flip it around a bit. And what's the positive of focusing on who you are, focusing on your inner skills? Firstly, you expand your capability, not just your capacity. Working hard is a capacity conversation. Working smart is a capability conversation. So you expand your capability. That's fantastic. The second thing is you actually go to the next level, whatever the next level is for you. In your business, it might be different than in my business or in the next person's business. But you continually going up into the next level because you're expanding your own inner capability, your inner muscle, if you like, your business muscle. And then the third thing is you end up with a multiplication, right? Not just a marginal improvement. What do I mean by that? I'll explain it in a moment, but what it means is essentially that instead of going for a 10% increase, you go for a 10 times increase. So those are the big differences. I've spoken about the be, do, have formula, right? So the being is who we are as people. It's the skills, the internal capability, it's our identity, if you like, it really, and I think a lot of it starts with our identity, absolutely. And that is the essential. Then the do is, right, what is it that we do every day? And every day we want to get better. Every day we want to get more creative. Every day we want to get to the next point of who we are as people. So we want who we are in terms of our being, what we do every day, and taking active steps every time. Those two things taken together are what really determine our have, right? And our have, I don't mean sort of getting avaricious. That's not it at all. It's what we can achieve, what we are capable of achieving. And my view is that all of us are here to add value to others. That's ultimately, if we do that, we are totally on a winner, right? So our be times our do equals our have, our capability to add value to others, our capability to be creative beings. That is where we're really at. So that's point number one in terms of something I want you to take away from this afternoon. Point number two is that inner part, the skills, the habits, the inner muscle, if you like, are things that we can learn. It starts a lot with mindset. It starts with what do you believe about yourself? Because if you believe that you can, or you believe you can't, you're right. In both cases, one's a positive belief, one's a limiting belief. But that inner being of who you are starts with what you believe about yourself. And then what needs to change to become the next level. So if I want to make, let's say, I don't know, I want to build a boat. I don't know how to build a boat, but I'd have to start with saying, all right, that's what I want to do. What do I need to learn? I'd have to learn carpentry skills. I'd have to learn sailing skills. I'd have to learn a whole bunch of other things. So that would need to change pretty dramatically in my case. And then, of course, you put a plan in place and you actually get it done. Now, if you want to become a better person, it might include things like meditation. It might include like affirmations. It might include prayer, depending on what your worldview is. It might include exercise because you actually want to be able to climb Mount Everest in a year's time. And you can't just do that off the drop of a hat. So there's a whole bunch of things that need to change, a whole bunch of things you need to put in place. And it all starts with what's your inner identity? Who are you? How do you improve? The third thing is that together, taking the be and the do together, and I think I've said this a few times now, That's what determines what's possible to achieve in life, and not just in business, of course. I'd say deliberately in life. So again, let me just reemphasize. By focusing on who you are, not just what you do is important, but focusing on who you are, you build your internal capability. That means that you can have a multiplication, not just a marginal increase, right? So 10 times. Imagine being able to achieve 10 times more in your business, not just a 10% growth in 2024. And that is entirely something that is determined by who you are and how you apply that. And then, of course, the third thing is that you continue growing. You continue building your capability so you don't get exhausted, so you can spend time with the people that you love, so that you can actually get the return on investment that you ultimately went into business for in the first place. If any of this interests you, right, and I might have gone a bit fast, but if any of this interests you, I'd be absolutely thrilled to give you a free, no obligation, absolutely complimentary 60 to 90 minute strategy conversation. We can have a chat about how this pans out in your life and your business. Give me a call on 0222-332-669, 0222-332-669, or email me at chris@wcbe.co.nz, and I'd be thrilled to, as I say, give you a complimentary session. In the meantime, have a brilliant week. All the best. Bye-bye.